Okay, let's continue. Let's look at Romans, the whole latter book of Romans. Just making sure that everything is aligned properly. Yep. Before that, let's go back to our website, and you will see that we have uploaded a couple of things, and it's looking really good now. We have a calendar here, and yep. So you see we have been posting our videos up and getting organized. Yep. So hope this is in hopes to make this a great resource to you. Yep, trying our best to make this wonderful. So we want to look at the book of Romans and do an overview of it today. The epistle of Romans. Epistle means letter, by the way. So Paul wrote a letter. Paul wrote an epistle to the Romans, and I have a few examples set up for us to take a look at, and I have and I will put the link at the bottom of this video, whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our website. So let's take a look at Romans and get introduced to the book. Romans is one of my favorite books. I'm not sure about you, if you have read it before, but I have. And this Bible study is basically a one-way Bible study. In the future, maybe we'll have Google Hangouts or other interactive ways of doing Bible study, but at this time it is kind of one-way means of communication, right? So I'm going to share what I know, and you can share what you know in the bottom comments, and we can discuss different things on our website, romans15five.com. And most of these videos also are the preface that I wouldn't be just showing you resources online, because you can actually find them yourself. You just go to Google, right? But of course, you know, it's always nice to have someone to guide you through. Not just finding any random website and reading up about it, because sometimes there's contradictions or different ways of understanding the Bible, or breaking things down, or just various different opinions or perspectives. I'll tackle those as we go along. So there are basically 4 or 5 different websites that I looked at, and this is one of the best I found. So let's look at this. First of all, we always like to look at who the author is, and in this case it's Paul, an apostle, and he wrote that in chapter 1 verse 1, and the place of writing is in Corinth. There are cross-references here, and it's always good to cross-reference and you know, let the Bible speak to you through other parts of the Bible, because God, you know, spoke the Bible. I mean, God communicated the Bible to different authors, and yet it is one book, because God is the ultimate author. So different passages of the Bible would interpret or explain or expand other parts of the Bible. So that's why we have cross-references. And 1:1 means chapter 1 verse 1, and this is chapter 16 verse 23. So nothing in front means it's Romans. If there's one core here, it means 1 Corinthians. 1T is 1 Timothy. Hope that makes sense. If not, put a comment at the bottom and I might do a video to explain how to understand or read the Bible. Understand the Bible as in how to decode some of the ways the Bible is written in terms of, you know, passages, stuff like that. So time of writing, 57 to 58 AD, and then there's a reference here to Acts. AC is Acts, and then here again is Acts, because there's a colon here, a semicolon, so it's the same thing. It's not like this where it is actually he should put AC, but doesn't matter too much. So background of the church at Rome, nothing revealed about the Rome church being started, but we have references here to Acts and to Acts again, and you can read this on your own time. But basically, at this point, there were not. There was a really small group of Christians or people meeting up in Rome, and I'm gonna just skip over this for now. So the purpose of writing would be Paul wants to express that he has an intention to go to Rome to preach to them the gospel personally, and then from there to go to Spain. We're not sure if he ever got to Spain, but he still had intentions and he has plans, right? So basically he wanted to be there to combat the Judaizing teachers of we'll get into that later on in the book of Romans, because it will come up again. So basically these teachers were disrupting churches in Antioch, Corinth and Galatia, and were likely on the way to Rome. So he wanted to be there to prevent this, and also to assure them that his visit to Rome is going to be a peaceful and pleasant one. And Paul in chapter 1 gets right to the point. It's always good to look at it's always good to look for the key verses to find out what the true meaning or intent of the author is. And in this case, Paul tells us that it is because he is not ashamed of the gospel. So let me just read this. Romans 1:16 to 17. And for I here represents or refers to Paul. So because Paul's writing. So for I, Paul, am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jews first, and also for the Greeks. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. So in these two verses, Paul states his confidence in the gospel, and for his reasons for writing this book, and for being a preacher or minister of the gospel. Because in the rest of Romans you will see that he's trying to explain the gospel of Christ and how God's power is present to save those who believe. A lot of famous verses and doctrine comes from Romans, and it's pretty rich in theology. So see, now we see the outline. Everyone should have their own outline, or have an outline that they follow when they study a book of the Bible. Anyway, going back to this passage, this is the main verse, the main message of Romans, and I really encourage you to memorize this, because it will help you to grow in your faith as well. If you have not really memorized it, it is a great amazing verse that has always encouraged me because I memorized it when I first became a Christian, and since being a Christian, I always think about that verse because it just encourages me how powerful the gospel is, and the gospel is the good news, and the good news is the gospel. Those are interchangeable. So let's jump and look at the brief outline now. Introduction is chapter 1, verses 1 to 17, and I should be about, okay, so I, and then there's I2, and then this should be I3 here, but in this case I think because let me just okay, so he did not I here, he did not I here, so the main two things seems to be justification by faith and the transformed life, right? So that's cool. So within these two, okay, let's look at the first one. Justification by faith. There are 4 points: A, B, C, D. First is sin. Second, justification by faith. Third, freedom. Fourth, Jew and Gentile. So sin, the need for salvation. Justification by faith, the provision made for salvation. Freedom, the result of salvation. Jew and Gentile, the scope of salvation. And broken down into smaller bite sizes, we see 1, 2, and 3, the need for the Gentiles, and chapter 1 to chapter 2, the need of the Jews. 2 to 3, the universal need for salvation. 3, 9 to 20. And then you see that chapter 3 is broken down into 2 parts because there's another section here. And then like 1 and 2, like, okay, sorry. 1, this is 1 to 17, and then 18 to chapter 2 verse 16, and chapter 2 17 to chapter 3 verse 8. As you see, the Bible is not broken down by chapters necessarily. So sometimes you have to read to a certain point and then it kind of stops and then it goes on to another chapter. I'll explain more about that idiosyncrasy in the future. But you can see that it's present here. So B, this is justification by faith, the provision made for salvation, God's righteousness through faith. And then second subpoint would be Abraham as an example of faith. So chapter 4 verses 1 to 25. And then 3, C would be freedom, the result for salvation. So we have freedom from wrath, from sin, from the law, from death. Alright, and then the 4th section, Jew and Gentile, the scope of salvation. We see God chooses to save believers, chapter 9 1 to 33. Israel choose to trust in their own righteousness, chapter 10 1 to 21, which is, see, this is a clean break, right? It's like this is chapter 9, this is chapter 10, and chapter 11 is its own chapter 2. Both the Jew and Gentile can have salvation through faith. So this section is really well done. And also here, I guess, wrath, sin, law, death, and yep. Here also, well, here it kind of breaks into 2 because there's a different topic. And then 4 is by itself. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They are, each of them is each of them has its own chapter, and it can be broken down further as we can see later, but it's just interesting to note. Okay, so part 2 So the first part, justification by faith, is a important theme that you will find very rich in doctrine, and doctrine is another word for teaching, or so justification by faith is mostly theological. So the first part, like A, B, C, D, is mostly theology, and then chapter 2 is more practical living, the Christian life, the transformed life. And then we see another 4 points, starting with in relation to overall conduct, and then in relation to civil authority, to fellow man or men with MEN, in relation to weak brethren or brothers or weak believers, or brethren could include brothers and sisters and other Christians and believers. All of that can be interchangeable as well. Okay, so chapter 12, 13 breaks. Yeah, there's 2 parts to 13, right? See, there's 2 topics, and then 14 to 15, 13. So 15 kind of breaks into 2 different things also. 2 different there's more than 1 topic. So concluding remarks, instructions, and benediction. Benedictions are blessings, or like something like a song or a hymn to kind of conclude the book of Romans, or the letter Romans written by Paul. And as always, there's review questions. It's always good to know who wrote each letter or epistle. And in this case, the epistle of Romans written by Paul, and this is the reference, chapter 1 verse 1. And where was it written? It's written in Corinth. What is the approximate date of the writing? 57 to 58 AD. What's the purpose of the epistle? To get straight to the design and nature of the gospel. So to understand the gospel, Romans is key, and the theme of the general of the epistle was stated in Romans 1:16 to 17, which once again reads, and I love the King James Version, "For I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first, and also for the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written." So this is a brief overview, outline of the book of Romans as a whole. Let's look at this other one. Let me just move this out of the way so we can see. Yeah, this is bible.org. You can download this. Author again, external evidence, internal evidence, date and place of origin, and then there's references here, which again pops up, which is really cool, and destination audience, or intended audience, occasion and purpose. Let's see, there's a note there. Once again, these links will be at the bottom of this video, so you can go to these places and download the stuff or read it yourself. I'm just going, really like an overview. So special problems: the origin of the church, Romans 15, Acts 2, the unity of the epistle, and then there's questions of references, which I really encourage you to read on your own time. Okay, and then the theme of the once again he states Romans 1:16 to 17. The arguments, and let's just scroll through these. To go through these, I mean, we will go through these, but I don't want to like spend time going through them now. Outline, we have 1 to 17, correct. I'm probably gonna make another video to go through this in detail, and then the contrast and compare each of these with each other. For the most part, they're really close and similar, but then sometimes there's like small discrepancies. These are all the footnotes. If you're interested, you can always read it. Romans. This is BibleStudyTools.com. Summary of the Book of Romans. Author, date, and place of writing. This is actually very important. If you know, in order to understand the Bible, it's always important to study that. When and who the recipients are, who the audience or the destination is, the major theme. Excuse me. The recipients. Major theme would be chapter 1, 16 to 17 again, and righteousness of God, and we see justification by faith, and I'll tie that two things together in the future. Pause, writing style, occasion, content, special characteristics, outline again. We will look at that in my other video where this is okay, so back to this one. It's actually another one I wanted to look at. Let's see if I have it somewhere. Nope. I thought I had it somewhere. That's my other one. Just give me a moment as I try to locate my other page. Yes. Never mind. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to end this video. This is the majority of our overview of the Book of Romans. In the next video, I'm going to do a super big screen and contrast and compare the outlines. And that's going to be a really, really short video, I think, unless I talk too much again. But it's cool. Thank you for watching, and look forward to the next video where I do the compare and contrast. Thank you.